Hello again everybody and welcome back to another edition of Soundiron Sessions. I am your host Craig Peters, and today on Soundiron Sessions what we're going to be doing is adding emotive vocals to your track using Voice of Gaia Strawberry. Now if you're not too familiar with Linda Strawberry, she is a professional mezzo-soprano female vocalist who's most known for a lot of her work with Zwan, Smashing Pumpkins, and a bunch of other artists. Linda has a very beautifully intense, dynamic, and truly expressive voice, so I really wanted to showcase that in this emotional sounding piece. Another note I want to mention is that I'm also using Emotional Piano, Glitch Hero, and Elysium Harp in this track as well. So I'm going to show you guys how I used them all together, and we're going to break it down, and I'm going to show you a little bit of some mixing tips of some of the things that I did with this track too. Alright, so let's go ahead and listen to the track, and then we'll start breaking it down. Alright, so the very first track of this piece is the legato ah patch, and I did a little bit of tweaking to it. I took the reverb off that comes in the effects rack, and I used my own reverb, which is the Valhalla Vintage Verb. And I really like this reverb a lot. I think it sounds really good, and I used it with a lot of the other different tracks as well for this one. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and strip off the vintage verb and the stereo delay so you can hear how the voice sounds by itself. And this is how pretty much it sounds when we recorded it. It's a very close mic in a very dry environment, so you really hear every nuance of her voice. So let's go ahead and hear how this sounds. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the vintage verb back on and the stereo delay so you can hear how it sounds again, sort of A-Bing from the dry to how I processed it. Now the next track that I use is the Strawberry Sustains, and basically all I'm using this for is texture, just kind of outlining the chord progression, using it very subtly in the mix. So let's go ahead and I'm going to play this for you how it sounds solo just by itself so you can get an idea of how it sounds. Now the next track that I use is the Phrases patch, and I really love how this sounds. It's very easy to get really expressive, emotional sounding vocals, and I use this in combination with the legato so you can sort of have a little bit more of a singing melody with some more really expressive phrases. And another great thing about the key switching is that you can also key switch between the different keys. So if you have, let's say, a certain phrase like in the key of F and then another one in the key of C, you can key switch that in. So you're not stuck to one different or one particular key. So let's go ahead and check that out so you can see that I'm using two different phrases and two different keys on this first part before the legato comes in. So let's go ahead and listen to that. Now the next track is the Ambience Gaia Zones 1 patch. I really love how this sounds. It's very atmospheric, very drony and synth-like. And I'm only using this pretty much as a pad, sort of very texture-like in the background. So I'm pretty much outlining the chords again, just using it very subtly. So let's go ahead and give this a listen. Now let's go ahead and listen to it again in the context of the mix so you can see how it all sort of works together. Now, getting out of the Voice of Gaia Strawberry, we're going to go into the emotional piano, and I really love this piano. I think it works really well with something like Voice of Gaia Strawberry, just because they're both very emotional sounding instruments. Yeah, and I really love how dynamic this piano can get, and the way I dialed it in was I was going for a Thomas Newman sort of vibe. I mean, he's the master of that kind of sound, so I mean, I'm just trying to, emulate it as best as I can. But I really wanted that really soft, fragile sort of sound for this piano, and so let's go ahead and I'm going to play you a little bit of just the piano so you can hear how it sounds just by itself. Now let's listen how the piano sounds by itself soloed in the track. Now the next track, I'm using Glitch Hero low kits, and pretty much I'm only using this for just a big bassy low boom downbeat. Nothing much really more to it than that. So let's go ahead, I'm going to play it to you now soloed so you can hear how it sounds just by itself. Now, this sound doesn't sound like this normally, so I did do some of my own processing. I used my own EQ, and I used pretty much, all I did was a big high cut, just taking out a lot of the highs. And then I used a compressor. I used the FabFilter C2. And then I used a separate instance of Valhalla. I have its own instance of Valhalla Vintage Verb on here, and I'm using the huge synth hall for this one. Now, the last instrument that I'm using in this track is Elysium Harp. I'm using the Special Articulations patch, and I'm using the harmonic sound. And I'm only using this to very lightly outline the notes of the chord that the piano is playing. So let's go ahead, I'm going to play you a little bit of the Elysium Harp by itself so you can hear how it sounds. And then I'm going to play it together with the piano so you can hear how it sounds in the context together. And this is more of just a layering choice and just to sort of add some other, tonal sounds together and sort of mix things up. And that's, a great way of coming up with new sounds or coming up with some cool, interesting tones is just blending stuff together and experimenting with it. And that's what I was trying to do. So let's go ahead and listen to that now. Alright, so I want to thank you guys for watching, and if you want to get any more info on any of these libraries, make sure to visit our website at soundiron.com for more, and I will see you guys next time. Take it easy.